Hello, lovelies. It's G here with Golden Thread Tarot, and I'm here to bring you another channeled message. I hope this message is finding you blessed and full of abundance. As always, my sweets. Inner integration. Number 40. There is peace, equilibrium, and fulfillment in integrating the inner wild with the taming and tempering effect life has on us. Yeah. So this is giving me like this kind of like the more you grow, the more you know kind of energy. You are an eternal soul that is on a very deep, vast, expansive, multi-dimensional journey, and you are moving towards soul actualization, emotional equilibrium, a higher and a deeper level of understanding of not only yourself, but your purpose, your position in the universe, the power that you hold in your sovereignty and your understanding of the universe and of the higher workings, a higher, a higher energetic understanding of what's happening, and also a higher, they're laughing. My spirit guides are laughing at like my cat coming and interrupting, and they're saying also you're getting better at weeding out maladaptive distraction tactics, not only from outside sources but from sources within yourself as well as being more in awareness of when you are being influenced to not perhaps be like your best and most positive self. Whether or not that influence come from something, again, outside of yourself, or whether it comes from something being trickling up from your ego or from your subconscious mind. And they're saying that you are coming into a greater alignment with a greater understanding of the vastness of the universe, as well as a lot of metaphysical properties. So you might be having a lot of understandings, downloads, dreams coming to you now that are helping you to come into a greater alignment with your higher self and with the more elevated higher self that lies beyond that, how you and your higher self fits into the greater consciousness of source of the universe, and a greater awareness of energies that are around you, how those energies affect you, and how you thus also interact with the energies that are around you. And those are not just things that are conscious, intelligent energies like mass consciousness or soul collectives, but also things that take up a more what's the word? Unconcrete kind of energetic property. That's not the word that I want to use, but Mercury retrograde. Okay. They're talking with me about how there's a lot of energies and frequencies that are around us at all times that have a very deep effect, not only spiritually, psychologically, physically, quantum physically, but then also that affect us on multiple levels that we might not be exactly consciously aware of, and that there is a lot of power in bringing a conscious understanding and a conscious intention to working with those types of energies. And abstract, that's, oh my gosh, that's the word. Thank you. That's the word that I was looking for. I was like, no, I kept on saying non-concrete. I'm like, that's not the word I'm looking for. Abstract. These kind of abstract concepts, or these abstract modalities is the word that they're using, that you might not be exactly aware of, that you can consciously tap into. Kind of like the abstract thought of the energy of money. We think on a 3D level, as we think about money as a very 3D thing, but tapping into what money represents, which is abundance, tapping into the greater concept of abundance that flows through the 3D source of money, is, it's not just about doing 3D things to tap ourselves into that consciousness. It's also about doing things energetically with intention that can help you tap into that. Abstract things like love, tapping into abundance mindset, tapping into the free flow of energy out there. That there's a lot of Andromeda energy here. Honestly, I'm really tapping into that. I'm setting the intention to kind of tap into that, and they're really talking with me now about this kind of conscious understanding of the energies that are flowing around us all the time, and how all we need to do is to shift our perspective and to shift our mindset out of, I am out of control of these things. I can't control whether or not that happens, or I get that. And they're just like things that you consider like luck, blessings, abundance, money, wealth flow, the flow of exchange of knowledge, of understanding. All of those are things that when you realize and when you elevate yourself enough, you come to an understanding that you can consciously tap into that energy. And it is around us at all points and times, and that all you need to do is open the door to it. And all that you need to do is just simply understand, be in the perspective that I can consciously tap into these things, and hop into that belief system. And things will really rapidly change. And you might be really surprised at what things spirit and with that energy is going to tell you, when you consciously say, okay, I want to bring in more money into my life, or I want to bring in more abundance into my life. You might be surprised of some of the ways you're instinctively going to understand, okay, I'm doing this, or I'm saying that, or I have this around me, or I have that around me. And that's slowing down that influence into my life. Like for some, like you might be wanting to tap into manifesting more money in your life. And one day you might be sitting there on an off day and you think, I really want to clean out my closet. And you think that those two things have nothing to do with each other, but they do. And you might be surprised how that energy can speak to you. And when you say, I want you to be more, I want the energy of knowledge, the energy of expansion, the energy of money, the energy of abundance, the energy of love, the energy of romance, the energy of whatever, these abstract concepts. I want my life to have more of that. I want to have more of that in my life. Listen to the little things that that you might not see how this physical action is going to help put you in alignment with that. But Spirit says there's a lot of power in understanding that and integrating this knowledge. And Spirit is saying that your higher self and that the higher consciousness that we are all connected to, that all of our consciousness flows from, has this divine knowledge and has this divine understanding. And it's just about tapping into understand it. Like, I do know this. I do know how to do this. I am aware of this, because if there are other people out there in the world that are tapped into how you do it, then you can also be tapped into that. If there are other beings out there, other collective beings out there who have brought in an awareness of how to do that, that means that you know how to do it. Because all of our consciousness flows from the same source of the oneness and the understanding of everything. And that when you stop seeing yourself as necessarily like a separate being who is in discord, or who is in disalignment, or who is separate from that, when you start seeing yourself as plugged into the main consciousness of all of that, and release your forms of judgment around that. My nose is itching. Then you can, and also they're saying here, release fear energy around that. There could definitely be some resistance energy that's being put inside of you through fear, or just misconceptions of how the world works. You might not be exactly aware of how you have more resistance in your thinking and in your thought process and in your belief system than you consciously realize. And that when you take the time to, they're showing me the Hermit card, when if you take the time to go inside of yourself, if you take the time to allow the falsities of those things, Tower card, to reveal themselves to you, Sun card, Star card, there is a lot of knowledge and insight and understanding that can come from allowing your mind to expand, allowing your perception of what is reality, what is possible, to expand. And there's a lot of power in being able to step outside of your limiting belief system, outside of the realm of this is what's possible, this is what's real, this is not real. What puts something in the category of being real or not being real? There's been a lot of, oh my gosh, my throat chakra. There has been a lot of propaganda that has been put inside the mass consciousness of humans that make them believe that if it is not something that that has manifested onto the 3D, that makes it not real. And Spirit is saying, actually, things manifesting into the 3D is the last stop of existence, right? Something has to exist on many different levels before it exists in the 3D, before it manifests in 3D form. And that you're really cutting out the biggest part. They're showing me that kind of where it's like the iceberg, where it's like the part of the iceberg that you see above the water, right, pales in comparison to how much of the iceberg or how much of the ice drift exists below the surface and deep into the subconscious and deep into the higher realms and deep into realms where it's like vast beyond our understanding. And especially if we are going to say, well, I want to be able to put it into a computer and get readouts, or I want to be able to dissect it in a lab, or I want to be able to, and I've gotten this before, and it's like the technology that we have, the computers, the scientific methods that we have to break things down cannot and do not exist yet to prove that these things exist in the way that you might want them to. And that there's a lot of power in faith and understanding and belief beyond what you can just see with your normal senses. And that many of you that are viewing this have already come into contact with that energy of beyond what I can see. I can see beyond what my physical eyes can see. I can hear beyond what my physical ears are hearing. I can perceive beyond what my senses, what my bodily senses are saying is true. I can remember things and understand things beyond what I know I have read in a book or I've seen somewhere. I can know these things. I can tap into these consciousness that are greater than myself, and that there's a lot of power in that. If you allow yourself to push beyond that barrier of comfort, there is a lot of knowledge and a lot of understanding and a lot of expansion, and that over the next century or so in this age of Aquarius, that is going to be put into the test of the consciousness of humans. That people here on earth are really going to be put to that test, that they're really going to be put to, like, can you believe in something bigger than yourself? Can you be led to the rock that is bigger than yourself? Can you be led to an understanding beyond what your flesh mind tells you is real? Because your brain can lie to you. Your brain can warp things. Your brain can create whole things that are not real. And having your standard of existence be something that my brain can physically observe or see or sense is very limiting. It's very limiting because your brain can only observe and sense so much when you are at certain conscious levels. And if you do not allow yourself and your mind to question and to expand beyond that, you will stay at the consciousness level that you're at, but if you want to grow, if you want to expand, if you want to improve, if you want to be stronger, you got to go to the gym or go and buy some weights and lift the weights, and your muscles have to expand and they have to grow, and you have to, expand your knowledge about protein, about, what your body needs to be efficient, to recover, to get rest. You have to understand something that's just beyond what you're seeing right now or what you're feeling right now. I don't know. You have to understand that there is something more, right? Okay, so they're saying I didn't exactly explain the thing. Like, you have to understand that if you look at your muscles right now, you have to be able to perceive in your mind, I want bigger muscles, and I have the option to have bigger muscles, right? I have the belief that I know I can go to the gym and lift weights and my muscles will get bigger, and I can manifest that potential reality into 3D. But if you think, no, this is what I have, and because I don't have big muscles now, I don't think that having bigger muscles than what I have right now is a possibility. That's basically, and they're saying that's basically how you limit yourself when you don't understand how much knowledge there is and how much power there is in understanding energy, the energetic levels beyond what we can just see or feel or sense normally. Or we have had the capability so far to sense, right? You would always stay at the size you are now being like, oh, if only there was an opportunity, nope, I can't ever, I just have what I have now. And, because I don't have bigger muscles now, I can't possibly, but it is in that sense of faith, in that sense of understanding, in that sense of downloading more knowledge inside of yourself, saying, oh, I could have bigger muscles if I up my protein, if I watch what I eat, if I regulate my fats, if I go to the gym, if I lift these weights, if I do this, then I can create something that is not existing right now in the 3D. Okay. They're like, okay, you did that. That was a lot. That was a lot on just a single card. A lot of you are going to be called to be very honest, and although so many of you are very rational beings, you are going to be asked to push the boundaries of what you consider logical and what you consider rational. what other people might look at you and say, well, like, how could you possibly believe that? And it's funny too that so many times throughout history, humans have seen over and over and over again that something has to exist energetically in someone's thought process or in their imagination before it becomes real. You know, that there have been moments where we have pushed ourselves into developing a deeper a deeper psychology, a deeper understanding of our of our physical bodies, of what humans are capable of, of machines, of telephones, of, the internet, of flight, that there have been all these people that have been like, I dream of this and I think that it can be a real thing. And all I have to do is put in the work to manifest it into reality. And there were always people that were telling them, that's so stupid. You'll never have a thing that does that. Humans weren't meant to do that. And it doesn't matter how many times humans experience that, like, wow, it is possible. You can dream something into reality. You can tap into a higher knowledge more. You can say, I might not be able to prove this at the moment, but you know what? I'm going to develop this thing that's a device that can look at the fact that I think that there are things in our blood. The blood is not just a liquid, that it has things that are alive in it, and it has cells and and then they develop the microscope, a machine that can see that can bring that into reality. That it's so weird that humans could be shown that over and over and over and over again. And there's still people that are like, no, that's not possible. Nah, you're weird for thinking that. No, burn them at the stake. Like, what? And they're kind of just like, it's something that other modalities look at and they're just kind of like, huh? Like other collectives look at us and they're just like, how many times they have? Okay. It's a part of the process. You're a baby. You're learning. You're growing. We can see beyond what you can see, but there doesn't seem to be like this thing of like how many times that you can see this, but you still keep this level of resistance to your expanding consciousness. Accountability. Responsibility is a gift of love to yourself and others. And they're saying that, you are at the place now where your expanded consciousness is your responsibility. It's always a process of will to step into your authenticity, to step into a different understanding, to be open to healing, to be open to expansion. To be open to expansion, to be open to understanding that there's always going to be a level of resistance. And it's not always going to be as powerful as it is now, but that it is your responsibility to overcome it. That all beings at some point had to overcome the resistance to growth. Right? Being like physical beings have to overcome that resistance all the time, that even living and marching through living every day, searching for food, turning that food into energy, putting your body through the physical processes that keep your body moving and growing and living, you overcome the resistance of not existing every day. And that those who are ready to expand are the next level of that is understanding that it's about overcoming the limitations of your thought process, of your mind, and being aware of how, although in the past it has been something that has allowed you to survive. It is just a byproduct of your evolution. That this kind of like, I need to see it, I need to smell it, I need it to be in front of me, I need to be able to quantify it. It's just a byproduct of your evolution, of the way that your mind works, of the way that your brain works. And all species that become conscious and are on this conscious level, you know, this conscious journey of evolution, have their own weaknesses is not necessary, but their own level of resistance that they have to overcome in their evolutionary journey. And that all have to be faced with their own special brand of challenges. All species have evolutionary weaknesses and they have evolutionary advantages, and that you are going to be asked to rise above those biological disadvantages, as well as collective, like, mass consciousness disadvantages that have been providing resistance to your evolution, to your spiritual evolution. To your energetic revolution. They're saying that all of you on your own individual journeys might come into phases where you might experience like step forwards and then pushbacks, then step forwards and then pushbacks, and step forwards and then pushbacks. But to keep going, because you're gaining strength, but there's also they're also saying that there is this level of trying to decide if I want to go into this right now. There are natural and there are conscious, is the word I want to use, conscious plans that provide resistance to evolution. If there wasn't resistance to evolution, we all would instantly develop and come back into oneness with the unity, with God, with source energy, right? We all separated out from source energy in descending levels of consciousness that are making our way back up to unity with that consciousness. You know, we're all source energy experiencing itself through different aspects of itself, right? We're all mirrors to each other. We're all soulmates to each other. We're all separate aspects of the oneness of source, right? And there are natural forces and also entities, energies that exist out there whose purpose it is to provide resistance, because it is in going against that resistance and moving above that resistance that provides spiritual growth, right? And so there is this kind of breaking out of a mindset of demonizing that resistance and understanding that everything exists for a purpose in the Mercury. Goodness gracious. You might find a level of resistance to this understanding within yourself, because it's easier to say there's a big bad out there, there's a devil out there, there's demons out there, there's dark forces out there that are horrible, terrible entities and things that are wreaking havoc, and they don't serve a purpose. They need to be defeated. They need to be annihilated. It's easier to live in a way, in an egotistical kind of way. It's easier to live in a thought process of us versus them. Like, it gives you something to fight against. But when there is power in pulling back, because you can help yourself evolve out of victim mentality. Now, does that make these darker forces that are out there causing this resistance any less real? No. There are malevolent forces out there that are playing a role in the divine plan that are unhealthy and that aren't good. That aren't, I don't want to say aren't good, but that aren't, don't help raise your vibration in the way they seek to pull you down, or they seek to negatively influence you. They seek to spread chaos, and but they are, if you pull back further than that, they are all a part of the divine plan. And it might assist some of you in understanding that it is not always our job to be out here being in toxic war mentality with dark forces. Some of us are meant to be that. Some of us are meant to be warriors who are meant to be out there fighting and overcoming. Some of us are meant to be observers. Some of us are meant to be those people out there plugged into the dark, pushing, because we can't say that there aren't people out there who aren't being influenced and aren't giving into that dark path and doing, being those movers in shadows. There are. And I'm not saying this to tell you, just don't care. No, it's still something that you have to overcome. It's still something that you have to allow yourself to raise your vibration out of. But they are saying that pull yourself out of this person who is being kicked down, who is being punished, because that is the thought process that these malevolent dark forces want you to have. They want you to lose hope. They want you to feel beaten down. They want you to feel victimized. They want you to feel punished. They want you to feel shameful. They want you to feel like you're not allowed to be your authentic self. They want you to be in the negative influence of that dark principality kind of energy. But the truth, the higher truth of everything is that everything exists within source. That the light, both the light and the dark, both exist within source. And they each play their role in the evolution of coming into oneness with source. And that there is a purpose even for these terrible things that happen. And these terrible things that can cause you a lot of trauma, a lot of despair. And Spirit wants you to pull yourself out of that despair, to pull yourself away from the claws and from the grips of deep sadness and loneliness and depression and despair and hopelessness and darkness, into not just the light, but a balance of understanding, right? Yeah, Spirit is saying, seek not their distortion of truth. Yeah. And Spirit wants you to pull yourself into a place of radical curiosity. I don't know if I've ever pulled this card before. Because I'm looking at this card and I'm like, have I ever seen this card in this deck before? I'm sure I have because I've looked through all of it, but it's been a really long time. Radical curiosity. Seeing as if for the first time every time. Yeah, there's definitely an evolution of self, of your soul self. Ooh, especially out of trusting these type of trickster energies. Ooh. Renewal. Regeneration begins with decay. We must first see the shadow parts of us, the things that are hard to look at. Learn to question the things around us, not in a sense of testing or in a sense of tearing them down, but with a lighthearted sense of curiosity. Not with an accusatory, demonization of things, but with a more lighthearted understanding of the balance of all things. And they're showing me like the yin-yang symbol about how there's light in the dark and there's dark in the light, how there's a balance. Like they're encouraging you to seek a balance. And to understand that we're all meant to play a different role here. And Spirit saying that many of you, especially those that are still here watching this reading now at this point, are seekers of a truth, of something deeper inside of yourself. That your soul, through your incarnations and through your soul journeys, that you have come and have experienced and have had experiences that have pushed you to question your soul belief, to question beliefs within yourself, to push yourselves outside of your understandings of the universe, and to continuously have this type of seeker of truth And Spirit is encouraging you to have a more light-hearted curiosity. And they're showing me, okay, so they're showing me Scorpio, so like Scorpio energy. So some of you might have this very scorpionic energy within you and within your chart, or within just your psychology, where it's like you're drawn to like the dark, to the, you know, to the mystical, to the magical, to the shadow, to the, you know, sexual, to the kind of underbelly of things. That you are drawn to those things because you are a person who brings deeper understandings when you dive very deeply into these places, into the subconscious, into psychology, into the understanding, into the purpose of things. And that you are this person who goes into those dark places and brings the light. Again, they're showing me the hermit energy, where you are going into these deep, dark places and bringing an understanding to those parts of existing as a soul, as to those experiences. And it might have brought you to a place of wariness, looking so much into the dark. And so Spirit is showing me you bringing in more, something closer to like a Sagittarius energy, where there is this kind of balancing, where it's more about like fun, exploration, expansion. And they are encouraging you to allow some of that fire and passion energy to mix with that kind of deeper soul searching, and for that part of your soul that wants to have that deeper understanding of things, and bringing this kind of expansion energy to that, and to understanding that you don't have to just explore into the dark, dank, you know, devilish things of life. That you also can have, and they're saying there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but you could be coming into a place where your soul is coming into a new part of your journey, where you're being asked to expand in a different way, where you were really asked to really go deep into the dark. And now there is this kind of like lighting of a match in that darkness, and there is this kind of expansion energy. But it's giving me this kind of how like the water and the fire coming together is creating this air energy, which is like the steam energy. And it's showing me you like rapidly moving upward and ascending upward. So it's like you're going into this dark places, and then you're bringing in this fire energy, which creates rapid expansion and rapid acceleration. And it provides like this source of rapid growth, because you went to these deep places, because you did such intense shadow work, because you went in and really dug down deep. You know, they show me a huge expansion energy coming in. And you kind of using that kind of elemental energy, making those things kind of work together and play off each other to create rapid expansion for yourself. Yeah, I mean, and even look at like the color difference here. Look how, look at the kind of color palette here. How it's kind of like this kind of like sepia kind of color palette, where everything's kind of like brown and that kind of like greenish decay color. And then look at like the brightness of that in contrast with that. Some of you also might be called to use like some type of music, to create music, or to create some kind of creativity, or some kind of project, some kind of transmutation. It's almost like, okay, so you've gone and you've sought in these dark, deep places. What have you, so you're pulling yourself out, and everybody's like, what did you learn? Oh my gosh, you went into the dark. You went down into the darkness. Like, what did you find down there? And then it's like, let me tell you about all this stuff. And there's this whole world down there. And there's this and there's that. And there's this and there's that. And I learned this and I learned that. And, you know, my soul expanded in this way and that way. And it's like, oh, wow, what? You know, there's a whole world down there. And it's like this and like this, you know. And there's kind of like this whole, there's this kind of expansion. But I think it comes out of this place of examining your wounds. Weeping wound. You are not your wounds. And I have to cover this up because YouTube won't let me show that. But weeping wounds. And there is this strength that's coming from this vulnerability. You were brave and vulnerable enough to go to these darker places, to examine these wounds, to do this shadow work, you were brave enough to bring this light into the darkness, into the shadow. And Spirit is saying there is this type of expansion, this understanding, this type of blessing, this type of gift, this type of reward kind of that's coming to you in the form of self-understanding, self-acceptance, accepting more about the world in general. And I literally I just caught a whiff of something that smelled like something burning, like wood burning or something like that. So it was, I kind of had to look around. I was like, what? But and it's kind of creating that energy there, this like steam, this expansion. And it's helping to pull you out of this kind of constant darkness. And it's causing this, oh my gosh, this is so crazy, because that's what I was seeing. So I was just seeing melting mask. Right? Allow your spirit self to shine through the many roles you fulfill. As well as look here. Right? There's that seeker energy. And look here. You're the hermit who has gone inside with that light. And here it is. You've like deposited that light like inside of yourself. Emptied. The ending and beginning lie at either side of the same door. Wow. And I just did a reading that I did before this where I talked about certain people being a trigger to you. And I mentioned something about how, in that reading, how there was a person that were like coming back around. And it was kind of this energy. It doesn't have to be a person, but it was kind of like, I beat you down. I spit on you. I pushed you down to the ground. I rode off. And then you had to walk for 40 nights and 40 days and 40 nights through the desert to find yourself. And this is that type of energy. Walking through the desert, going on your homage, like feeling turned away, going and walking into the shadow and walking into these dark places, being like, dang, I feel an absence of nourishment and protection and the things that I need, the things I might have grown accustomed to, this kind of light-hearted happiness, energy. And Spirit is saying that they are bringing this type of fire energy into you. And they're showing me like the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Cups. So there is this kind of combination of those two things coming together, creating air energy, which would be the sword, the Ace of Swords, like divine truth and truth of self, truth of a higher understanding. This kind of feeling of like, no, I wasn't abandoned. I came here to learn certain things, and I just keep hearing I'm in control. Like I'm in control of this journey. You know, and devil energy can only affect us in our mind. It can only persuade us to see ourselves as worth less or weaker or less capable than we are, less in control than we actually are. And that goes along with the first messages that I got when I first tapped in this energy, which was, if you want to tap into these energies of expansion, of abundance, of understanding, there has to be a kind of like conscious intention, and there has to be a shifting of perspective. You know, you have to see that putting yourself in situations where you feel vulnerable is actually a type of strength. That if you are going to have expansion, there is going to be there's going to be resistance, there's going to be wounding, there's going to be fighting, there's going to be upheaval. You know, the Tower comes before, you know, the Death card and the Tower, it comes before the healing of the Star card. You know, the realization and the evolution of self. That the upheaval and that the chaos comes before the clearing and the calming and the understanding and the higher understanding. And Spirit just really, they want you to be able to step out of this feeling of being persecuted, or this feeling of being beaten down, or this feeling of being persuaded to feel less strong or less worthy than you might have been made to feel. You are much more in control than you have been led to believe, or you might have been allowed to believe. But Spirit is saying that there are many things that people will do that will keep you blinded to the energetic truth because of physical circumstances. That your brain will tell you that the physical circumstances trump what the energetic truth of the situation is. And that you take back your sovereignty and you take back your willpower when you see that the truth is actually the opposite, that seeing isn't believing, that believing is actually seeing. And that many of you are no longer confined or no longer trapped like you used to be. That you are only trapped inside of your mind. And that the only limitation that you are truly facing is the limitation that your brain and that your mind and that maybe what you've been through in the past and the experiences that you've had in the past have tricked you into believing is reality. When what you're actually seeing and is much less real than you think. That the world of energy is what is real, and this world of 3D is actually a projection. It's actually all twisted up around, but you have to have the expansion in your mind and in your understanding and in your belief system and in your capacity to accept and to allow that information to permeate your thought process. And that is the evolutionary step that people are being asked to make now, is to actually, in the times of chaos, have more faith and more understanding than ever, to have more belief in not distortion and not delusion, but in truth. And the truth that although so many people out there are experiencing real danger, real heartache, real unfortunate physical conditions, that this too shall pass, is what they're saying. This will pass. And they want to say more, but they don't necessarily want to cut anyone off or necessarily devalue the horrors of what some people are physically going through. And so if you are feeling triggered by me saying that, I'm sorry. And they're saying that it would be more helpful perhaps to not be here right now, watching this reading, to not be here watching this reading right now, because you might have someone else that can guide you through the horrors of what you're dealing with right now, and I'm so sorry that you are. But for the majority of us, it is not our physical conditions that are holding us back. It is the limitations that we are putting, that our brain is telling us. A plus B equals C. When that's not necessarily the truth, because your brain could have a distorted understanding of what A, what B, and what C is. And that a lot of you are pulling yourself into alignment with a greater understanding, and you're pulling yourself out of the distortion that the mind and that the brain and that the ego and that being here manifested in the 3D puts over the deeper understanding that you have within your soul. That the energy that you are as a being knows more and is far more expansive than your brain is currently allowing yourself to be. That your mind, but they also want to remind you are not your brain, in the same way that who you are in essence as a being is not necessarily this body, is not necessarily this brain, is not necessarily the culture or the country or the family that you were born into, that you are much more than that you are a collective of more than that. And they're encouraging us to detach from distorted dissociation and to align ourselves with discerning detachment. Like, yeah. Okay. They're saying that that's all. Oh, man. Hmm. Man. Ooh, it took me a second to come all the way back in body, you guys. Sorry. I knew you were probably kind of just like, you gonna say anything? You're just sitting there like looking around, and I'm like, yeah. Yeah. Come on. Confirmation with that distorted desires. Yeah. Goodness gracious. And come on, distorted perspectives, confirmation. If some of you really needed the confirmation, the physical confirmation to what I was downloading, there you go. There you go. Come on. Spirit self. Come on. There you go. I don't need it, but I understand. If you needed it, babes, there it is for you. Yeah. Vulnerability. Yeah. Be curious. Stay fun. Stay curious. Stay open. Stay understanding. Don't give in to resistance or fear. I have different guides coming in now saying that now is a good time to get into practices. If you are having problems with connecting and having a lot of like fear response to opening yourself, to expanding your mind, you know, do the things that make you feel safe. You know, put practical steps in, you know, whether or not it's lighting candles, saying prayers, wearing certain crystals or beads or amulets, you know, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do to cleanse your space, you know, burning sage, you know, doing whatever it is, whatever kind of physical practices, you know, whether it's making black salt or, you know, and spreading that around, whether or not it's saying incantations, whether or not it's smudging, whether or not it's cleansing, taking those, you know, taking salt baths, cleansing yourself, keeping yourself spiritually elevated, whatever you feel like that you need to do, you know, do those practical steps as well. If you are not familiar with those kind of like spiritual protection energy, look into it, research it, you know, do more, push yourself. Push yourself to do more and to find what resonates within you, whatever it is, you know, smudging, cleansing, throwing holy water, going to church, saying prayers, you know, having an ancestor altar or whatever, working with specific spirit guides that are really strong around like protection energy and all of that. Do whatever you feel like you need to do. And spirit is encouraging you to do that, you know, to not do it from a place of fear, but to just do it from a place of, you know, I want to know more about myself and protecting myself. And if you are feeling that sense of fear, then do those things, you know, do those things to help create that sense of stability and safety for yourself. Do the practical steps that are going to help you. Yeah. Ooh, come on. Wisdom in play. Come on. You know, wisdom is when you put knowledge into action. Wisdom. Live in wisdom. Walk in wisdom. Walk in understanding. Yeah. Be aware of your emotional energy as well. Emotions are messengers to be met with appropriate attention, action, and gratitude. Come on. Be aware of your emotional body as well. Be aware of when there are certain things that make you feel uncomfortable, but not in the way where it's like, oh, I'm pushing myself beyond my boundaries, but just when there are things that really make you feel uncomfortable, make you feel uneasy, if it's going certain places, doing certain things, participating in certain low vibrational activities. And what is low vibrational to one person or another kind of changes around, just depends on what you're working on, what you're overcoming. So go on this journey of knowing yourself, of self-knowledge, of understanding. Yeah. There's something really, really strong in your emotional body right now. Yeah, your spirit self is talking to you through your emotional body right now as well. So be aware of that. Ooh, come on. Responding, not reacting. Okay? Bringing yourself into rational and emotionally balanced response instead of reacting. The only control we have is in how we respond to what hand we are dealt. Come on now. Spirit's talking to you. Spirit is talking to you. So I know that some of us really feel the need. I mean, I like using the cards because it adds depth and it adds, I'm just a very visual person to begin with, but I don't need the cards, you guys. I don't need the cards at all. As you can see for most of this, I wasn't pulling a lot of cards, So I don't need the cards. I just like the cards. They're a tool. They're a help, a visual representation, but I don't need the cards to confirm things for me. And it's okay if some of you do. I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, Spirit was like, okay, well, if you need me to confirm some of the things that I was saying, all the cards that I just pulled literally just confirmed everything that I channeled and I said. So if you still need that extra belief, I'm cool with it. I'm down with it. Spirit's here. We'll get you there, right? We will get you there. Thank you for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. Was there anything else? High vibrational love and light, Spirit guides that you had? Somebody's spirit guide just stepped forward and said, hey, lay off the marshmallows. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a nickname for something. I don't know if they're actually talking about marshmallow. I don't know what it is, but I just saw somebody and they just stepped forward and they said marshmallow and they had like a big X. So like, So lay off the marshmallow. Some of you have also been doing some kind of spending, because what are those things called? They sound close to marshmallow, but it's like mellow. They're like little, those like stuffed animal things that like went everywhere. Everybody had them and everybody was spending all this money buying them and collecting them and everything. Spirit is pulling me to that to say there are some things that you're spending money on. You need to cut it out. And when you feel guided to spend that money and to do that, instead, why don't you put it in savings? Instead, why don't you put it towards a rainy day fund? Why don't you put it towards a vacation fund? Why don't you put it towards something else? There is a call to be very aware of managing your resources wisely right now. I'm hearing influx. So some of you might be really experiencing an influx of money, and you need to manage those resources wisely. And to not be like spending money all over the place left and right just because you had a jump or influx in your resources. To spend and to use wisely and responsibly. That it's okay to have a little bit of fun, but know when you're like, okay, like I'm really burning through this, or I'm really doing this, or I really have a tendency, I feel lost, or I feel alone, or I feel this, or I feel that, and I have a tendency just to like spend, even when I don't need to. Even when it's like, we got food at home. Like some of you need to tell yourself that. Like some of you need to tell yourself, hey, we got food at home. Hey, we got entertainment at home. Or, hey, let me not spend this money here when I could spend it towards doing this activity or taking this class or doing this thing that I really actually want. Because there could definitely be some things coming up where you're like, oh, why did I spend that money on that? Because if I had that $30, that $40, or that $50, I could do this thing. So it's like, you might be very tempted to like spend money right now that later on you're going to be looking at and you're going to be like, do I really care about having this stuffed animal, or care about having this thing, or care about splurging, on this meal that wasn't even that good or something like that, versus now, I could have bought that with that and I really need this now, or I didn't know about it, but it's like, there could be a really awesome experience coming up where there's something about a ticket. Like somebody might have a ticket for you and they might just be like, hey, yeah, just throw me like $20 or $30 and I'll just let you have this ticket, or I'll let you have this thing, or hey, like we have an extra thing here, but we have an extra spot. Can you kick it on gas? And it's like, wow, I'm going to get this amazing like experience. And all I have to do is pay this $30 or $40, that I spent on a stuffed animal. And it's like one of like 20. Do I need that stuffed animal versus having this amazing experience where I could be going out and being social, or, seeing this like amazing concert or exhibit, or going on a trip or something like that. And it's like, or that there's like a class or something that you've been really wanting to take is opening up, and it's like, all you need is a down payment of $50. And you're like, if I had to spend that on this BS that didn't even matter for me, if I would have just saved that when I knew my intuition told me to save that, I could take this amazing opportunity. So there is going to be some things where you're going to be like, oh, I can just buy that, or I can just do this. And Spirit is going to tell you in that moment, hey, don't. Hey, maybe you should save it instead. I know you really want that, and it would give you instant gratification. But if you save this, it can actually go towards this thing. And you will be sitting there thinking, like looking at the thing that you bought, thinking, I would throw this away in a heartbeat to have this thing, to have this other experience, or to have it to go towards this. Because it does give me something where it's like, because I'm seeing somebody put their foot in a door, like a door opens and swings open, and you have an opportunity to like put your foot in the door and like stop the door from closing, which is going to allow you to, move a little bit slower, walk towards it and open that door. But you're going to need to act quickly, and you're going to need to have some type of finances. So if Spirit tells you, hey, put away $20, hey, put away $50, hey, put away $100, hey, put away whatever, listen to that. Listen to that. Because there is going to be something that you're just like, oh, I bought these 3 things. I would give those 3 things up in a heartbeat to have this thing. Like in a heartbeat, to have this opportunity, or to have that doorway be open to me. Where somebody's like, hey, I have this ticket that costs $200. I feel like being charitable. If you'll just kick in the gas money to drive there, I'll let you go. I'll let you come. And you're like, got it. So I don't know. But there is something to do with your expansion. It's like some kind of exploration. It's like traveling, going somewhere, some kind of expansion energy. It's like a really amazing, entertaining experience. And it's coming up. So don't say that I didn't tell you, because I did. Okay? Appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate you guys so deeply. I will see you, lovelies, in the next one, okay? Thank you to your angels, spirits, guardians, ancestors, masters, and guides for guiding you here. I hope it gave you the love, light, or clarity that you were looking for in your situation. Thank you specifically to my Andromeda guides that came through to bring us that amazing experience. I am very grateful and appreciative of that. Thank you to my angel spirits, guardians, ancestors, masters, and guides for guiding me through this evolutionary experience, my journey, as well as delivering this message and keeping me safe while I did so. I appreciate you guys ever so much. Okay, like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know how you're feeling. Reach out if you feel guided to get a personal reading from me or for any of the services that I offer. And I will see you, lovies, in the next one. Can we say goodbye? Say bye. Bye.